New details tonight on the second homicide of the year in Columbus as the community responds to yet another deadly shooting to start 2018.
And Georgia's lieutenant governor in town tonight, stumping for the top job in the Peach State during a meeting of Republican supporters.
Here we are looking at the Columbus Public Library off Whitten Road, and we see the clouds starting to lower, so we were going to begin to see some fog in the overnight, some drizzle, a little bit more cloud cover, but a warm-up is still in store. The news starts right now.
On your side, this is News 3 Nightwatch.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for trusting News 3. I'm Teresa Whitaker.
And I'm Phil Scoggins. Just 9 days into the new year, and Columbus police confirm the second homicide of 2018 for the Fountain City.
News 3's Ashley Garrett reports one woman has died and a suspect has been taken into custody.
In a story that you saw first on 3, Ashley reports the victim and suspect have now been identified.
Phil, Teresa, as you can see behind me, it was a very active scene earlier today. Columbus police confirmed 67-year-old Nancy Green was shot and killed around 4:30 this afternoon on Trussell Avenue. Police say the suspect is 88-year-old James Byrd, and Columbus police also tell News 3 where they are now with this investigation. Tuesday afternoon, Columbus police confirmed the second homicide for the Fountain City for the year 2018. Columbus Police Major J.D. Hawk says 67-year-old Nancy Green was shot and killed at a home at 5136 Trussell Avenue, which is in the area of River Road. Major Hawk says the suspect, 88-year-old James Byrd, was also taken into custody. Major, what's the relation of the victim to the suspect?
I'm not going to get into that right now.
Among other things, News 3 is working to learn where the victim was shot and how many times. Muskogee County Deputy Coroner Charles Newton says that information cannot be released at this time. Both homicides in January and the more than 40 others from 2017 have summoned the community on edge.
This is one of the things that wakes me up at night.
Jed Harris says he's lived in Columbus for more than 60 years. He says crime appears to have escalated over the course of several decades. He shares solutions that he believes could work to eventually end crime in the valley.
There's no magic answer. I believe that the churches, especially in the parts of our community that experience the most crime, that the churches can make a difference.
Harris also says he's been monitoring studies that show those who tend to delve into crime are more times than not young products of a single mother home.
And I can understand that it would be difficult for a single parent, a female, to raise a teenage male.
Harris says he believes more men should step up, becoming the missing male role model in the lives of the youth. Columbus police say this investigation is ongoing. Among other things tonight, we're working to learn whether there was a motive behind the shooting death. Stick with News 3 for any updates on this story on air, online at WRBL.com, and also on the News 3 mobile app. Teresa.
All right, thank you so much, Ashley. We have an update for you on a Columbus apartment complex that's been under scrutiny for more than a year. Representatives for the Ralston Towers will soon go before a judge to defend the property against 24 safety code violations. The Columbus Office of Building Inspections and Code is monitoring the Ralston for a laundry list of issues, from outdated fire alarms to unlivable units without proper heating and air conditioning. The Inspections and Code Director brought his findings before City Council today. He says the property is constantly balancing on the brink between coming into compliance and being shut down.
We talk to them and say, hey, we need an update on this, we need an update, and when it gets to the point where there's not much I have left to do but the opportunity to shut them down, and I'm like, I hate to keep going, you know, I don't want to keep crying wolf as if we're not going to shut them down, but they do eventually come into compliance, but like I said, at the expense of what, or how, you know, how many people have left because they cannot live there anymore due to the conditions.
The court date for the Ralston Towers representatives to defend their case against the citations will be next Wednesday, the 17th.
City Council also approved a purchase order for the Muskogee County Sheriff's Office to get new body cameras for at least 25 officers. This will be the first opportunity for the office to equip its deputies with all new technology. Sheriff Donna Tompkins tells News 3 the cameras will be distributed to the deputies who spend the most time on patrol, interacting with the public and with inmates.
These days, that's very important to be able to document, you know, what your interactions with the public were, especially in cases of arrest for evidence and things like that. And most of the time we find that it's helpful for the officer because it, you know, it helps to prove what they did or didn't do. And so it's what all good agencies probably should be working towards. And so that's our first step at working towards it.
Tompkins says now that the purchase is approved, the new technology should be on Columbus streets within the next 6 weeks.
To the weather now. I don't know about you, but I certainly enjoyed the warm-up today.
Indeed. Here's Chief Meteorologist Bob Jeswell with how long we'll enjoy these warmer temperatures.
Just asked Donna Worthy, our sky watcher, who claims it's felt hot today. Hey, some folks had their air conditioner on. You know who that was. And of course, some even people were wearing shorts. I mean, but look now from the Columbus Public Library, a live camera of the ceiling. That's what we call it in aviation meteorology. That's the cloud distance down to the surface. You can see it's quite low, and as it lowers a little bit, we're seeing a little bit more moisture coming in from the east-southeast. This will be mainly in the form of clouds, but with this setting up, if the surface becomes a little bit more saturated, we watch that temperature and dew point. That's what us meteorologists do. When it gets closer, those two numbers, it becomes a little bit more saturated. Could see some fog and drizzle. The big story is this, Phil and Teresa. I'm going to pinpoint this more accurately. Southern California's storm interacts with another storm over the Rockies. This will be the big talker by the end of the week. We'll talk about a little spring-like weather, and then on the heels, winter weather returns. That's coming up in full weather.
All right, thank you so much, Bob. New at 11, one of the 6 candidates in the running to become the next Georgia governor paid the city of Columbus a visit tonight. Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle held a speech at the DoubleTree hosted by the Columbus-Muskogee County Republican Party. Cagle says his platform partly focuses on education and the betterment of the military. He explains what he believes he can bring to the table that the other candidates, he says, cannot.
Being lieutenant governor, I've served with 2 governors, so I know what it's like to make tough public policy decisions, but also the economic development decisions that are required as well as we are growing this state moving forward. So I think experience obviously matters, and then secondly, a proven, consistent, conservative record that I have.
According to the AJC.com, Cagle joins Brian Kemp, Hunter Hill, Lindsey Trippin, Stacey Abrams, and Michael Williams in the Georgia gubernatorial race.
State lawmakers from across Alabama are back in Montgomery for what's expected to be a quick regular session.
Debbie Williams explains why an election year may keep legislators from bold proposals.
The first day of the regular session is generally ceremonial, and a lot of talk about what lawmakers hope to accomplish during the 30 meeting days.
One of the things we all must do is the fact that take our time, carry on a very good dialogue about priorities.
The state's 2 budgets are at the top of that list.
The education budget is pretty tight again. Revenues have not been as high as we had anticipated. The general fund budget, we pass and move some taxes around to strengthen it, so it's doing pretty fair.
There is even talk of a cost of living increase for state workers and teachers. That hasn't happened since 2009. Prisons are also back on the agenda as the state faces a federal court order to address mental health issues behind prison walls. And a bill tightening regulations and oversight of church-run daycare centers will be introduced again. Currently, they are exempt from state licensing, inspections, and other safeguards.
We got pretty close, got it out of the House last year, but did not get it out of the Senate.
But don't expect any bold changes. After all, this is an election year.
That's the hope, to do so, is to get out sometimes, hopefully, late March.
And that was Debbie Williams reporting. Because it is an election year, the voters will determine if lawmakers are successful during the regular session.
Japanese automakers Toyota and Mazda have picked Alabama as the site of a new $1.6 billion manufacturing plant. The facility will employ about 4,000 people and will be built in the area of Huntsville. Toyota and Mazda announced plans for a new U.S. factory back in August. It will be able to build 300,000 vehicles per year in the plant. Officials are expected to hold a news conference tomorrow afternoon to announce the site of that plant location.
Net neutrality was given the boot last month by the Federal Communications Commission, but lawmakers are now working to restore it. The Republican and Democratic Senate each have a different approach. Democrats are pushing for a bill that will overturn the FCC's decision, but Republicans want to adjust the rules a little. Republican Congressman Steve Stivers says their bill will allow for what's called paid prioritization.
If a company wants to pay to speed you up and make it even faster for you to encourage you to come to their service, they can do that. If Netflix wanted to pay Comcast to run a cable between Comcast and Netflix, that would be considered paid prioritization.
Stiver says his bill is a middle-of-the-road approach that makes sure the outrageous things are outlawed.
And still to come here on the Nightwatch, powerful storms battering Southern California lead to floods and mudslides in areas previously burned by fire.
And 1 minute, an update from Santa Barbara County as search and rescue missions continue.